Hey guys, it's Stephen here. This is the first of two videos today on this channel. I'm spoiling you. I want to talk about some transfers before I talk about the Newcastle game later on. I've got a preview coming up, so watch out for that later on. I'll try and link to it in this video if it's already up by that point. But today, in this video, in the first one, I want to talk about two transfers that are apparently very close to happening. One coming in, one going out. Now, the first one going out, which I'm going to talk about, is Rabbi Matondo, the young EDS winger. Very skillful, very fast, and allegedly he's very close to joining Schalke for a fee of around 5 to 7 million euros, according to Bild in Germany, and a few other people reporting the very same thing. The most interesting thing about this one, though, for me, is that not only are we going to sell him for 5 to 7 million euros, we could buy him back for around 30 million euros too if we want to, which essentially, when you cancel out the 5 to 7 million euros, works out around like a 20 million loss, 20 million pounds loss, which isn't that bad, really. Now, it isn't great, obviously. We want this player to not cost us 20 million, since we've already got him, but the idea that he goes away for 2 or 3 years, hones his craft, gets confident, grows into his skin, gets guaranteed game time, and then we could get potentially Manchester City level first team winger for 20 million. That seems quite, it seems like a good deal almost if you think about it, given the fact that we paid double that for Sane and what you'd pay for Mahrez these days. Essentially, we'd have, if he gets to his level, we'd have a quality player for an absolute bargain price. Now, and it still isn't perfect, obviously. We know that it isn't a perfect situation, but it's hugely preferable to the Sancho situation, put it that way. A situation where we let someone go for basically peanuts, and now he's probably worth about 5 times, not 5 times, probably about 10 times what we let him go for. Probably worth about 80 million now, Sancho. Rabbi Matondo is a very skillful player. Personally, I don't think he's quite at the level of Foden and Sancho. Some people disagree on that, but I think he's like the slight step below him. But then again, I still think he's very good. You've got to look at Havaro de Rolsen. He's gone to Germany now. He's doing very well. Hertha Berlin, taking the Bundesliga by storm, to be honest. I mean, not like Sancho levels, but he's doing very well over there. And he was a guy who was probably about a similar level to Matondo. There's nothing to say that Matondo couldn't do the same thing. He's very direct, very skillful. He can score goals. He can play on the left or the right. He's got a good pass on him as well. He's just an exceptionally excited young player. And given the fact now he's had a taste of first team football with Wales, nonetheless, he's made his full international debut and he's done well the Checker J Trophy in general. He probably thinks, well, do you know what? I can go and play football now somewhere. Whether this happens and whether he does himself proud out there, we don't know yet. But he definitely has the ability to play football somewhere, and it continues potentially this mass exodus of young British talent over to Germany. And I quite enjoy it in a weird way. I'm not going to lie. I kind of like the idea of seeing lots of talented young players get games. I wish they weren't leaving Manchester City, but I do think in general, young players like that, if they're ready to play, you know, all the good for them. Maybe it'll teach some of these top clubs to stop hoarding talent and give them a go themselves. This does look likely to happen. All the reports seem to be pointing towards the same thing. It looked like we did reject another offer, but we're willing to accept a lower fee for that buyback clause, which is sensible business. I would rather have 5 million now instead of and get them back for like 30 million as opposed to 8 million now, and that be it. Because this is a much more palatable route, really. We don't need to have that extra 2-3 million. I'd rather have the option to get him back at some point in the future, because City still believe in him, and rightfully so. And on to the second bit of news. One coming in for around the same fee is Palaversa. Now, I've done a video where I talked more about his playing style in depth, and I'll link to it on screen now, so go watch that video. But it looks more and more likely that we're going to sign the young Croatian wonderkid, dubbed by some people the new Fernandinho. Apparently, Pep is absolutely smitten with this young lad, and we're going to sign him from Hajduk Split, where he's played about 18 games, so he's very wet behind the ears still. He's a youngster, really, really young. We're going to sign him and then loan him back for 18 months, which is a long loan. Now, I hate these kind of signings because even though they make a lot of sense, you still think, oh, I can't really get excited about that. He's miles away. Why can I get excited about a player that we might never see in a Manchester City shirt? You know, and that's kind of fair thing to... It's a fair thing to think, really. But then, I guess he is only very young. I'm sure if at some point he takes off over the next 6 months and becomes the absolute star in Croatia, we'll probably find a way to test him at a higher level. I'm sure City could pay Hajduk Split a little bit more money and get him out and go somewhere else. But still, I think in general, a year and a half to play football somewhere, and then the year and a half later, when Fernandinho's likely winding down, he could be the backup to the senior player. So I think in person, I think we'll sign a defensive midfielder of high quality, a senior one to rotate with Fernandinho next season. And then when Fernandinho's even starting to wear there, that's when Palaversa will come back if it all goes well and he reaches his potential and be the backup there. And that makes sense for me, because we don't need 2 more midfielders next season. We just need one to rotate with Fernandinho and then one to come in the season after. Palaversa, if you haven't seen much about him, as I mentioned, I did a video where I talked about him more, but he looks really intelligent and very gifted all-round midfielder, to be honest. A great way to pass, positionally very, very good in terms of how he reads the game. You can do that whole breaking the line swing with the pass passes where he splits 5 or 6 people. He also has his ability to do almost like Busquets level passes where you're not looking and he kind of threads it through the defence. And he just seems to be very intelligent, physically pretty good, a decent turn of pace, very good tactically as well. A really hugely exciting prospect, and one that maybe this is something that Pep was on about in terms of being quicker and smarter in the transfer window. Maybe this is what he was on about, getting these young players in before the next stars, being quicker and being smarter, and then we don't have to battle with the likes of Barcelona because we can't seem to beat them. Something like Frankie de Jong, who's grown up on the whole Cruyff philosophy and all that kind of stuff. We just can't rival Barcelona for these kind of players, and that's understandable because Barcelona have got 100 years of heritage, and PSG can't rival them either. And I don't think it's any much of a slight on us. More just as De Jong said himself, and more just praising Barcelona. So getting likes of Palaversa in now, this could be our way of bypassing those troubles against teams like Barcelona and Real Madrid where we trouble to compete with them for signing players. Anyway guys, just a very quick video, hence why it's a bit roughly edited. I just thought it was worth talking about those because it's quite interesting news. What do you make of those potential, that potential signing and that potential exit? I'm kind of mixed feelings on both of these things, but this all seems fairly logical if it goes out the way we hope it's going to go, fingers crossed. Anyway, don't forget there'll be a preview. It might be on screen now if you're already watching this later on, but if not, I'll come back in a few hours and there'll be a preview. Anyway, I've been Stephen, in a bit.